What are cycles? What are systems? What do they mean actually? I'm not referring to just life cycle or just body systems, but what do they mean generally? Hi, I'm Mr. Long and I'm your science teacher today. I'm going to revise through what cycles mean and what systems are with you today. Let's begin with cycles. Now, of course, if you're my primary 3 class, you should have your practice paper ready with you, or you just get a piece of paper, and when you see a question and you just pause. Same for my primary 4 and my primary 5 classes. See the question, pause, try it on your own first, then listen to the explanation to see if you got it right or not. Alright, let's get started. What is cycles? Now, according to your lower block textbook, the cycle says that it is a pattern that repeats itself continuously, alright, and it can help us to predict changes. Now, this can happen in both living and non-living things. The most common cycle that everybody knows is this, alright? There's a day and night cycle, and if it's the morning right now, you know that nighttime will definitely come. And if it is the nighttime right now that you are watching this, you know that daytime will certainly come in a few hours. Alright, now that is the day and night cycle. Now, for those of you who have been overseas before, or you have watched television and you know about this seasonal cycle, then you know that whenever there's spring will move on to summer, and from summer you move on to autumn, where the leaves will change colors, and in winter most of the leaves will just fall off, alright, in an effort to conserve energy, but the snow will not be there forever. It will move on to spring, and the cycle continues. That is the meaning of cycles. It's just a repeated pattern of change. Now, let's go into specifically what our primary 3 syllabus covers about cycles. We will do that using some questions. The questions that I'm going through today are those that are noticeably difficult for many of you when I mark your work. So let's take a look at this. Alright, look at the two animals shown below, a chick and a mealworm. Now, how are these two animals similar? Now, before I go into the actual question, please take note that the animals that you will need to remember from this topic of life cycles are all fixed. Alright, you must definitely know the life cycle of chicken, grasshopper, cockroach, mosquitoes, mealworm, butterfly, and these are things that you must know. Okay, so for example, how are they similar? You must always be familiar with such terms such as similar or different. Now, similar simply just means how are they the same, or how are they alike. Now, if you have your worksheet with you now, your practice paper, do take note as we are going through this together. Okay, and if you are trying this question, do remember to pause and try it first. How are they similar? Well, let's say we don't look at this. Alright, just by looking at them alone, we can't tell that they are similar. And we can't say they are both living things. That's not characteristics of living things. When comparing similarities or differences, we are comparing their characteristics. There are two kinds of characteristics we can compare. One is a characteristic within the life cycle, and one is within the living things themselves, the types of living things. In this question here, when I see this term resemble the adults, 3 stages, I know for sure this question is asking me to compare the similarities of their life cycles and not about the types of living things. In other words, I don't talk about the number of legs they have, I don't talk about they lay eggs or not, or they give birth to young. Those will be characteristics of like mammals versus insects. Or I will not talk about the body coverings, like this one has covered with feathers, this one with exoskeleton, because that will be under the characteristics of the different types of living things, which is not what this question wants. Now, you may be wondering, why am I explaining so much? This is an MCQ, because this question can easily be an open-ended question in section B, and then you must be very clear what is the intent, what is the purpose behind this question, so you will know how to answer it. In other words, I'm teaching you how to read the mind of the teacher who designed this question. So how are the two animals similar? Let's take a look. The young resemble adult. You know for sure this one does not. Let's see if we can draw the life cycle. It starts with which stage? That's right, the egg stage. And when the egg hatches, it goes into which stage? You're right, the mealworm, or we call it the larva stage. And the larva is where it eats a lot, and we go into a stage whereby it stops eating and start to undergo transformation. That's called the pupa stage. When it emerges from the pupa stage, it becomes an adult. The adults will go on to find meat and they will lay eggs, and the cycle continues. And you know that at these two stages, the young do not resemble each other. But however, this one resembles the adult. The adult has a beak, the young has a beak. The adult has a pair of legs, the young has a pair of legs. The adult is covered with feathers, the young is also covered with feathers. So A is definitely correct. So that leaves A and A. Therefore, we know that 2 and 4, we don't have to look at them anymore. Now let's be smart here as well. Now here in these two options, we only have to look at C. We don't have to look at B at all. Alright, because it is not factored in the answer here. Let's go to C. Both animals go through 3 stages in the life cycle. We know that's not true, because for this, it goes through an egg stage. It will hatch into a young, which is a chick. The young will grow into an adult. And the adult will find meat and lay eggs, and the cycle continues. This is a 3-stage life cycle. This is a 4-stage life cycle living thing. So we know that C is false. Therefore, the answer is only A only. Answer is 1. Let's move on to the next question. Question 9. We're still on life cycle, but now we're moving on to plant life cycle. Let's take a look. The diagram below shows 4 growth stages of a plant. Now this is not arranged in a cycle. It's arranged in a linear, a straight line manner, but it is still the same in terms of showing you how it progresses from the seed. And this part is the roots will come out first during the part when a plant starts to grow or germinate. And then what's inside the seed that helps the seed to grow is this thing called seed leaf. This is like the food for the plant. My primary 3 will remember me saying the seed leaf is like the packed lunch in your lunch box. Alright, it provides food for the young baby plant is inside. Alright, and this is the first leaf that comes out. And finally, when he has his own first true leaves, when he has leaves, the leaves will help the plant make food. Right, for the plant. So the question asks us, at which stages can this plant make food? At this stage, of course, no. Right, dependent on the seed leaf that's inside. On this stage, no. But here we notice there are leaves here, right? And there are leaves here. And the leaves are the part of the plant that help the plant to make food. So we know that for sure C and D must be the answer. We know for sure A and B are wrong, so A and B are wrong. So that even if I'm not sure whether C is a stage where the food is made or not, I know for sure A is wrong, and by the process of elimination, I can rule out 1, 3, and 4, left with only 2 as my answer. This thing called the process of elimination is one of the important skills that you need in order to do MCQ question. Alright, even if you do not know the answer, if you know what are not the answers, you can cancel them out and you're left with the answer. Let's go on to more on cycles of a plant. Alright, typically for plant life cycle, you learn in school, you learn about the life cycle of flowering plants only. Alright, and they are all 3 stages, from seed to young to adult. That's all you call it, seed, young, adult. So it is at the adult stage. Remember, this is a seed, this is a young, and that's the adult stage. It's when it has started to grow flowers. Alright, you can also add in and/or fruits, because flowers will become fruits. Right, that's when it becomes an adult. So for example, if you look at page 16 of your textbook, remember reading your textbook is a very important part of your revision. Adult plant, under this subheading adult plant, flowers appear on the plant after the young plant grows into an adult plant. So before it becomes an adult plant, there will be no flowers. That's why at this stage, it is not yet a flower. Okay, so even at this stage, no flowers yet, it is not yet an adult. So know for sure then, therefore, all these are wrong because you can find these parts when it is a young plant. So this is the answer, it is an adult. Now let's move on to question 18, because we're still revising the part on cycles. Now question 18 is on animal life cycle, and it is also on the reading of graphs, the skill that you learn in your math lesson as well as in your science lesson. As in any graphs, you must take note there are two axes, or these two lines, and they have meanings. Numbers on this line means number of days, as written here in this case. And the different bars here, alright, this is a bar, another bar, another bar, because it's called bar graph. Alright, each of these bars represent different stages of the animal in the different stages of the life cycle. And here the question says, the graph below shows the number of days each stage in the life cycle of insect X lasts. Now you're not told what insect X is, and you do not need to know. Alright, now let's take a look. On the 14th day, after the egg is laid, insect X will be at which stage of the life cycle? Remember, English is important in all the subjects, except for mother tongue, of course. So you must understand what it means. Now most of you make this mistake. You saw 14, and you chose adult, and that's where most of you made the mistake. But that is doing the question without understanding it. Let's try to understand again. On the 14th day after the egg is laid. So when was the egg laid? Egg was laid here on day 1. Alright, this 1, 0, 1, 2, right? This on day 1. Egg is laid here. It's on the 14th day after the egg is laid. So when is 14? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We know our stages in the life cycle of an insect such as this with 4 stages. From egg, you move on to larva. Be careful, sometimes we may swap the bars around, so don't get tricked. So egg, larva here. So this is the 14th day after the egg has been hatched. So which stage is it still at? It is still at the larva stage. Therefore, it's not this, not this, not this. It's at the larva stage. Answer is 2. Alright, now we're going to move on to revising about systems. So what are systems? Now if you have a P3 lower block textbook, you notice as systems. Alright, it's very important. Most of the things around us are made out of systems. For example, this pen itself is a system. It simply means that it has many parts, and the parts work together to form a system. For example, there's this part that you can clip onto your pocket. There's this button that you have to press. There's this rubbery part where you make your holding easier so it doesn't slip out of your fingers. And you have the tip of your pen where you can write. There's ink inside. And inside here, there's actually a spring. I can't open this, but there's actually a spring inside. Without a spring, this mechanism will not work. There's so many parts, and if one of the part is missing, just one part, it will stop working. This, for example, is also a simple system, and the cap is part of this system. If the cap goes missing, as long as cap is careless with it, very soon this part will dry, and my highlighter will no longer work. So it requires all parts of the system to work together to form a system. There are systems in nature, systems in things made by man. In these 2 examples, I show you systems in things made by man. Alright, how about systems in living things? So we are going to cover that today when we talk about our body system. Our body is made of a few systems. In your lower block, you learn that our body has this part called the digestive system. This is the most important part you need to know in the lower block. Alright, our bodies, and we'll go more into this later. And when you go to the upper block, you'll cover more about the circulatory system. And what it does is it will carry the digested food that's digested here in the human digestive system, and you'll send this digested food, water and oxygen in the blood to all parts of the body, because every part of the body needs digested food, every part. And we also create waste in our body, so it must bring the waste material away from different parts of the body. In the upper block, you also learn more about the respiratory system. I'm talking to you P5, so you must take note of this. Right, it removes air from the body, and notice air that is removed is called carbon dioxide. And at P5, you know this air is also known as, we will take in oxygen into our body. Alright, that's good. Of course, that's not all. You also need to learn about this thing called the skeletal system and muscular system. They are both different systems, but they work hand in hand together. Okay? So this skeletal system support the body and give it a shape. So our distinctively human shape of 2 legs, 2 hands, our skull and our rib cage that protects our organs. That's where all these bones in our skeletal system helps. Give us shape, give the body a shape, and it protects the organ in the body. The muscular system helps different parts of the body to move. Alright? Now let's go into the questions. Let's look at question 12 from this. Remember, if you are trying this, and I hope that all of you are trying this, please pause the video to try before you proceed to listen to the explanation. Which one of the following correctly matches a human system to the function? Do make sure you take note. Sometimes we will look for things that is incorrectly matched or wrong. So you must know that you're answering the question. Now, circulatory system, what does it do? Does it enable the body to move? No. Enabling it to move is the muscular system. So this is wrong. This kind of question is a simple recall. So all you need to do is read through your textbook, remember the meaning of each of the system, and this question is easy peasy. Respiratory system, what does it do? Let's take a look. The respiratory system removes taking air into the body and removes air from the body. It all happens at the lungs. Alright, and there are 3 parts to the respiratory system. He said it transports oxygen. That's an interesting choice of words. I remember I see transport under circulatory system. Carry is the meaning of transport. Alright, it transports digested food. It carries digested food to all parts of the body. So this is actually describing the circulatory system. This is also wrong. Skeletal system supports the body and give it this shape. Let's take a look. Supports the body, give it the shape. Jackpot, this is the answer. But just be very, very clear. Muscular system breaks down food to be absorbed by the body. That is wrong. But do you know what system this is? You're correct. This is the digestive system. Alright, it breaks down food into simple substances, and absorb these substances into our body to be used by the body. Alright, so this is also wrong. Answer for this is 3. Now with this, let's move on to the next part. Now we focus just on the digestive system. Now there are several parts in the digestive system. Alright, you must know all these parts and their function. It starts from the mouth. That's where food enters the mouth, and you will chew them into smaller pieces. And digestion starts in the mouth because of your saliva. It will start to break down your food into simple substances. Then the gullet is here. The gullet will transport the food, alright, from the mouth all the way to the stomach. There's no digestion happening here. No digestion happening in the gullet. In the stomach is where a lot of the digestion will happen. Alright, you will have a lot of digestive juices being added in to further turn your food inside into mush, and then your food will be broken down into further simpler substances. And this gooey mush will then flow into your small intestine first. In the small intestine will be the rest of the digestion. Eventually, the digestion will be completed at the small intestine. And also the digested food will be absorbed into your blood through the walls of the small intestine. What is left will be the undigested food that will enter the large intestine. But it is still useful. The large intestine will absorb the last useful thing from the undigested food, which is water. And finally, the undigested food that's dried will be stored in this part called the rectum, and then it will eventually pass out from your body through this opening called the anus. Now we know this and the sequence, and we know the digestion happens in the mouth, starts here, carries on here in the stomach, and completes here. Let's take a look. Which of the following shows the correct order which food moves through the parts of the digestive system? Stomach, yes. To this first? No. This one should be the small intestine first. Alright, before it goes to the large intestine. Right, so this is wrong. Also learn to recognize how it looks like. The small intestine are usually all crumpled up like this. Large intestine is usually larger. And please never say big intestine. This is not the correct name for this part of the digestive system. Next, the large intestine to stomach, confirm this is wrong because it is reversed. It is stomach first to the small intestine. Alright, remember, it's stomach first to the small intestine, finally to the large intestine. Next one, stomach, yes, to the small intestine. So far, so good. To large intestine, very good. Let's test yourself. What comes after this? Very good. It is the anus. And for those of you who listen to my video carefully, before this there was a part called the rectum, which you do not need to know, followed by the anus. And before this, do you remember? Very good. It's called the gullet. And even before this, that is a mouth. And where does digestion happens? Mouth, stomach, and small intestine. It starts here and it is completed here. So we know this is the answer. Just to be double confirm, just to be very sure. No such term as double confirm. That's English. Haha. Small intestine, large intestine, correct, but this is wrong. This should be here. So answer is 3 for question 13. Let's go to question 19 now. Question 19. 4 systems. We just revise this. Now also need to recognize pictures to the system. I see a pair of lungs here. Alright? And lungs is where we have this picture, and this picture matches. So this is a respiratory system. Okay? It's a respiratory system. This very clear. This one refers to the skeletal system, and the other one refers to the muscular system. Look at the 6-pack here. Whoa! Right? Muscular system. So that's the muscular system, skeletal system. And this one, all the veins and blood vessels, that will be the circulatory system. This one. Alright? Now the question asks, which system work together when you run? That means when we exercise. Alright? When we exercise, we need to definitely, what do we need to do when we exercise? We need to move. When we need to move our hands, our feet, our body. We definitely need these two. Right? Skeletal and muscular system. Those systems help us to move. Okay? But that's not the only thing. Remember what happened when you have a PE lesson and when you exercise? You actually breathe. You actually breathe fast, harder and more. The respiratory system is definitely working very hard. And when you are exercising, it also means that you need to move more digested food to more parts of the body to give it more energy. Alright? The digested food will be converted into energy. This will be needed, this will be needed. In other words, every part of this system, all this body system must work together when you exercise. Alright? So therefore the answer here is A, B, C, and D. The answer here is 4. Now let's revise the last part, which is on plant system. Let's go to question 14. Very simply, basic part of a plant. Plant has roots, stem, leaves. Simple and basic part of a plant. So which part is needed for a plant to grow well? To do this, you must know the function of each part. So what's the function of each part? Let's start with the leaf. Leaves make food for the plant. I'm on page 17 of your system book. Definitely you need this. Without food, the plant cannot grow well at all. So this is definitely important. Leaf. A is in every part here except for B, so ignore this. Alright, this is not the answer. Let's look at roots. What are the functions of the roots? Roots hold the plant firmly to the soil. Roots absorb water and minerals for the plant. Plants need water to survive. So roots actually help to absorb water. Therefore, we must have the roots. Otherwise, the plant cannot get the water. We need roots to absorb the water. So roots are important. B is important. So This one have no B, right? Out. Has B, yes. Now let's look at C. Stem. The stem support the plant. It holds up the leaves so it can get sunlight. Alright? You can see the stem here holding up the leaves towards the sun so it can get sunlight. Why do you need sunlight? So it can make food. It can trap light to make food. That's why stem is also important. This one have no seed, no stem. So this is out. The answer is 4. The last question that we will revise today will be question 15. Now it shows two pictures of two plants, plant A and plant B. Now comparing them, this part here is about the same in size. What's different mainly is whenever there are two or more pictures, we must always do this thing called compare. And we spot the similarities and the differences. I repeat, whenever you're given two or more pictures, no matter what they are, you must compare and look out for similarities and differences, because that's where the answer will come from. The main difference will be in the way the roots are. Look at these roots, they're all spread out. Okay, they're all spread out. These roots are not so spread out. In other words, try to imagine pulling this up from the ground and this one up from the ground. Which one is going to be harder? This one, clearly, because the roots hold the plant firmly to the ground. See, that's the function of roots. Hold plant firmly to the ground, to the soil here. So A will be more difficult to uproot. To be uprooted means pull it up from the ground. And during a storm. Why? Not because of the other parts. We must refer back to the function. So the function here will be, again, roots hold the plant firmly to the soil, and therefore here is about how the roots are more spread out. It's not about the stem or the stem, because the stem has a different function. Stem holds the leaves up to the sunlight to make more food. And here it's about uprooting it, holding it firmly to the ground. How about thinner roots? This one won't help. It does mean it breaks easily. It has to be more spread out roots. So that's all for today. We've revised through the cycles, revised through body systems and plant systems. And the cycles, we revised through cycles of animals and plants as well. Do remember to read through your textbook and your workbook. Alright, all the best. I'll see you in the next lesson.